It is cold outside, and we are just seeing mayhem all across the area. I'm Chris Mulcahy, joined by Brittany. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Pretty good. It's been a wild morning. Weather and traffic usually work in tandem, and that's exactly what we're seeing today.
Yeah, I think the biggest traffic, of course, issues have been down power lines, down, of course, trees due to all the wind, and we did unfortunately have that fatal crash near I-85 and Glenwood Drive. So just encouraging everyone to give yourself 5 extra minutes, 10 extra minutes, just taking it easy.
As many minutes as you can, because we are looking at widespread wind damage now because of this system, and we're also getting a whole lot colder. Current temperatures right now, 36 degrees in Charlotte. It was just a few hours ago that we were at 49 degrees. It didn't feel that bad. It wasn't this windy. Now the cold front's moving through, and it was 37 degrees in Boone. Now it is 8 degrees in Boone. Those numbers are going to drop down to 0 and below, and then we're going to be in the 20s most of the day. So what you're seeing up in Morganton is going to move this way. Also, because of the down trees, the down power lines that Brittany was bringing up, right now the most recent update that I had from Duke Energy around the Charlotte area, 12,000 people without power.
Yeah, and of course that doesn't include the mountains, the foothills where the winds are even worse. So probably even higher if you kind of add everyone together. So Chris, major
situation here. And the good news is most of the precip has now cleared, and you can see that through a Kannapolis camera. It's beautiful, lots of sunshine. You can see that large bird flying off in the distance. He's enjoying himself, probably flying in the tailwind, because 36 degrees feels like 24. That's going to be the big deal today. It's going to be the wind chills because of those winds sustained around 20 miles per hour. Brittany, already when we had a tree that actually fell here at the station, we clocked a gust around 49 miles per hour. So I think that's the top around 50 mile per hour winds, then maybe up to 60 miles per hour, and that's why we've been telling people about this.
Yeah, I think that the map you just showed, it's kind of crazy. It almost matches this completely because 58 in Jefferson, so almost up to 60. And, of course, the rest of the metro, of course, 40 to 50 miles per hour. So National Weather Service, Greenville, Spartanburg, whoever drew this exact map did a pretty fantastic job. But, of course, again, it's not just the wind impact to the power lines and the trees. It's also what it's going to feel like by tomorrow morning, which is why, of course, we have the weather aware.
It feels like 15 below zero right now in Boone. That's absolutely miserable. And sadly, that's kind of the bottom, what you can expect for the rest of the day. I think you're going to have wind chills ranging 15 to 30 below zero. That's life-threatening. That's where you can easily get frostbite. That's why we're advising people. And temperatures like these are seen all the time in the upper Midwest. Not so much here. It's been years since we've been this cold, and it feels like 24 right now in Charlotte. It's going to feel like 10 degrees most of the day today, Brittany.
Yeah, and I think that's why this cold is so important, right? Life-threatening, dangerous cold. Christmas morning even could be the coldest in almost 40 years to the date. So I think it's just really important that folks, when they're out and about today, I know the 23rd, 24th, right? They're typically days where people are out and about. They're trying to get those last-minute things done, you know, Christmas shopping, maybe even just food shopping, things of that nature. Maybe you've been holding off heating your home just to kind of save a few extra bucks. I mean, hey, a lot of people are doing it right now, you know, because of, you know, inflation, things of that nature. But this cold event is not a cold event that you
need all the blankets if you still haven't turned your heat on, because this is the feels like temperatures. As I mentioned, we're dropping down to 10 degrees, feeling like 24 below zero in Boone. That's at 9 p.m. Now, the winds get a little bit lighter through the overnight, but we're still cold enough that you're rocking that 20 to 30 below zero range, and it's going to feel like 0 degrees heading into tomorrow, and then it feels like a balmy 20s in the teens through the afternoon. So we're just holding on to that weather-aware status through your Friday, through your Saturday. The mountains, you might have weather-aware status as far as below zero wind chills on Christmas morning, but the rest of the area is going to be kind of simmering down as far as all that goes. It's still going to be cold in the teens.
Just like, you know, we do this story every year, and I think it's so important during the winter. You know, it's talking about winterizing your home, you know, make sure all those cracks and things like that, the weather stripping is there. I think this is a significant day that if you have not done that already, you should. You got extra, you know, one of those extra caulk guns at your house. Make sure everything is weather stripped. Make sure there's none of that cold air kind of seeping in separately, because once the temperature, I mean, they're already dropping, but once they get, you know, close to the teens, the single digits, you are not going to want to be outside. You're not going to want to be doing any of that. So if you haven't already, do it now. You know.
And JT's only 5-6 months, so like we've already said, hey, we're not going to go out really on Christmas Eve, because Christmas Eve in the morning, it's going to be absolutely awful, and you don't want to expose a young child to that, or really just anyone in general. So if a certain age range you don't want to be bearing the cold, I would just make those adjustments. Yesterday was the day really to do everything, because temperatures are already going to be quite bone chilling, even though it will be colder by tomorrow. So keep that in mind.
That's typically, heat, cold. It's the children, the elderly are typically the most at risk. People with any kind of other health problems, just check up on them, check on your friends, your family, and hopefully, if you haven't already, do it now.
Yeah, and we also want to get to some of the traffic issues that are going around the area. This is bananas, the amount of downed trees and incidents that you're seeing, Brittany.
Yeah, so this is probably one of the biggest deals we've had. And I know that if you have the WCNC Charlotte mobile app, you've already gotten an alert about this. But there's a big traffic issue. This is the 4400 block of South Boulevard. It's further south in South Charlotte, down toward the Scaly Brook area. But right now, South Boulevard closed in both directions due to power lines across the roadway. So they're expecting, of course, significant delays. Still seeing a few delays as well at I-85 southbound near Glenwood Drive. That's earlier where we had the fatal crash. And then other than that, it's really some small incidents here and there, but there's just a lot of them, Chris, right? I counted about 20 before we came and sat down for this live stream. And that was a combination of active crashes, traffic light malfunctions, things like we were talking earlier behind the scenes. That can typically, when we get those alerts, mean an actual traffic light or even just street signs coming down, things like that. You know, of course, they're shaking a lot because of the wind, and also we've had a lot of reports of those same trees down. So when you count kind of all of them, it's close to 20, which is a lot even for a normal Friday here in Charlotte.
So this is going to sound ridiculous, but also watch for rolling snowmen, Santas, reindeer, because a lot of those decorated lawns, people aren't going to undo the whole display. And I did the same. I was like, we're just going to leave and see how it lasts, how good you hunkered it down. Things could be blowing also throughout the afternoon. So keep that in mind. You might be dodging Frosty without even realizing.
No, it's so true. I mean, oftentimes it happens during like a severe weather event during the summer or hurricane event, but you've seen those videos of like even trampolines, that can happen with 60, 65 mile per hour wind gusts. If you get close to that, especially in the mountains. Another thing I wanted to note is everyone knows it, right? If you drive, you know when it's windy, and everything's going fine, and then you get that gust, and you kind of feel like you're just kind of be aware that that is a possibility. Happened to me on the way to work today. You just want to, relax, give yourself, but just know that it's going to happen. So you just got to prepare.
And we will say that the most treacherous driving is probably over the next couple of hours within you're watching this. Once you get to the afternoon, it's still going to be breezy. I would say gusts maybe ranging the 30 to 40 mile per hour range, but the peak is really right about now, the middle of this morning, and they get a little bit lighter the further that front and all the energy moves off towards the east. But we're still waiting on all that colder air, because once we hit the 20s a couple hours from now, we're going to be stuck in that range. So let's go back to weather graphics. We'll tie this with a bow. Couple of stats. The coldest Christmas lows, 4 degrees, 1983. We're not going to do that. Right now, we have a low of 16 degrees, so I think we're going to be in the top 5 for sure. And our Guy Roofing 7-day forecast, coldest Panthers home game in history. So if you have tickets to that, Cody Love, one of our directors, he's going to that. So Godspeed, my friend. But after that, we are ending with optimism, as we usually like to do here on WCNC. We're ending the year in the 50s. And now the 60s to even begin 2023. So this is only a brief cool down. But this afternoon will be the coldest afternoon that we see for the rest of the year, I can say. Yeah,
and tomorrow morning, coldest Christmas, coldest Christmas Eve in a while, but one of the coldest temps we've seen just in general in about 4 or 5 years. So.
Yeah, it was January 18th is the last time that we were around 10 degrees. They had 8 degrees further than that month, so that's nearly 5 years since we've had that cold air, and this will be the second coldest Christmas Eve in general. So do everything you need to maybe today. Plan accordingly. Be safe, most importantly. I'm Chris. This is Brittany. We wish you all to be weather aware, and of course, a happy holiday weekend.
And we'll see you this weekend.